Hello and welcome to the studio, and this is just another relaxing painting tutorial in gouache. So what I want to do today as I am proceeding with the painting is talk a little bit about anxiety and my experiences with anxiety, and hopefully they will help you as well. And don't forget to click subscribe. Now as you can see, I've actually done a drawing there which I copied from an original that I did. This was the original that I'm actually going to be working from. This took me quite a while. I'm hoping it won't take me as long this time, but who knows? We're just here to paint and relax. So I'm just going to put that one side so I can follow along with myself. So basically, I'm working on some card. This is just a scrapbook, as you can see. This is just a scrapbook that I bought from the range, and you can draw on your. This is what I take out to do some plein air painting, or sometimes I just paint on here to give myself some ideas. I've got two containers of water. I got one for washing my brushes, one for thinning down my gouache. Now a gouache is basically an opaque watercolor. That's all you need to worry about. Nothing special really. It's used by calligraphers and design artists alike. And if you want to have a little go, then just have a little go with it. See how you manage. Now using gouache, it's a very, very fast drying medium, and the reason I do it is because I can just sit on one side of my studio on my desk, which I'm sitting at the moment, and I can just throw a little bit of paint on. If I've had enough, I can walk away, my paints will dry, I can come back and I can reactivate them, because that's exactly what gouache does. It allows you to reactivate some paints. So I'm going to just pick up a little bit of Viridian. There we are. I'm just going to pick up some Viridian. I'm going to pick up some burnt umber. I'm just going to just go slightly darker. That's what I want. And yeah, it just allows me to be able to just paint and go. Paint and go. That's all it does. It allows me to paint and go. So what I find with gouache is that I tend to work from dark to light, whereas with acrylics I tend to work light to dark. And it allows you to be quite flexible, in fact. There you go. And I'm just putting a little bit of colour in the background just to help me along, because there's some trees and bushes and things in the background of this painting. And I don't know how long this painting is going to take. I don't know if I'm going to video this over a couple of sessions maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I really do not know how long this is going to take me. But I'm just going to sit and relax and enjoy the painting process. So let's get a little bit of blue and a little bit of my white. I made the gouache white myself, a bit of pigment and some honey and some gum arabic. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue, like as if there's maybe a little bit of sky just poking his head through the trees there. Let's get a little bit of sap green and a little bit of Van Dyke brown. Just plop some trees and bushes and things just in the background like that. Bit of Viridian and that burnt umber again, just to give a little bit of darkness. I'm going to add a little bit of touch of white to that now. A bit more viridian. Not too worried about doing too much here, because I want it as if it's out of focus. Just a little bit of light. Maybe that's a bit too white, so let's just get a little bit of this sap green. That'll do for now until it dries off. There we are. We can come back and have a look at that just in a second. Today I want to talk about anxiety again. Yeah, because I think it's important that I talk about things like this when I paint, because I know a lot of people have suffered from I got some red ochre and I'm going to put a bit of burnt umber to it, so I want to go in quite dark at the moment. The anxiety is quite a thing to get to grips with. It really is. There's an old saying that it's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. Does that make sense? I don't know. So I'm just gonna block in a little bit of colour, and just slowly build up this hat. So I'm going to get a little bit of white just to the one side of it, just lighten it with a bit of white. Yeah, so today I want to talk a little bit about anxiety, and it's dealing with my own personal anxiety over the years. It's been quite difficulty. It's been quite difficult to understand what triggers that have been involved in my anxiety. You know, things that have got me going. Then, if that makes any sense to you. So I'm Anxiety symptoms are the body's way of warning you to watch out, basically. So there's a combination of between fight or flight, you know. What I've learned is with anxiety is you need to notice what they're saying to you. You need to listen to them. But you also need to check to see if that threat that you were worried about or stressed about or anxious about is actually real or not. And you need to take positive actions towards that. You don't have to live at the mercy of your anxiety. And this is what I'm trying to do in these lessons, is just talk about these general things that happen to us and talking about my experience and hoping I can pass that on to yourselves. It's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. That's an old saying that I've come across, and I honestly, truly believe that anxiety is an epidemic these days, and there's so many people suffering with anxiety that don't even realise that they are suffering with anxiety. Because we're living in this stress-filled age, and stress is everywhere. Things move so fast around us, and everything seems to be on the increase. Our emotions, our stress levels. We're dealing with the digital age. We are conscious of, you know, the youngsters. It's not about the amount of likes you have. It's about the amount of people that actually like you. Human beings can only take so much stress before it boils over into anxiety. Stress is a horrible thing to deal with. So it's vital to learn what your own personal warning signs are and understand your own personal triggers. And I've come across a couple of things that have set me off over the last several years when I'm dealing with my anxiety, and one of these things are the pings and the beeps and the brrs and the pa-ching of our mobile phones and these devices that we're all tied to day and night. And the stress seems to be prompted by the use of this social media. And I can't do anything about that. Being a YouTube creator, social media plays such a big part in my life. And I try to stop. It was getting to me. All these nasty comments, all these thumbs downs, and why don't people like this? Why don't people like that? Why are people criticising my artwork? Well, that's just life. We must deal with that. We should never see the negative in the negative. We should always see a positive in the negative. And we should take a seat back sometimes and think, is it worth really worrying about that particular comment, or because people haven't given you a thumbs up, or on that type of stuff, especially with social media these days. People, I feel, are missing out if they're not partying or playing on their phones 24/7, or do not have the perfect body or a wonderful love life or a jet-set career or reaching that millionth subscriber on YouTube. It's easy to look at these social media apps like Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat and YouTube, and it makes you as if you're less than what you should be. You should think that you are more than that. You were more than that. Don't let these comments and that knock you back, especially with social media, because it's all going to increase your anxiety. Well, it certainly did with me in the first few years of working on YouTube. I found that I was constantly looking for that video that's going to go viral, that one video that's going to take me over the 5,000 subscribers, and you know, worrying about the likes and the thumbs downs and comments. And when I actually took a seat back and sat down and stopped worrying about that and started concentrating on content, perseverance and commitment to what I was doing on YouTube, my commitment to the channel and my perseverance in just doing one video a week instead of trying to do 3 or 4 or 5 videos a week, which is what I was doing in the early days. I found it a lot easier to concentrate on one thing and one good video than 5 videos that are mediocre. And that took away my stress and my anxiety from YouTube. And all of a sudden, believe it or not, my YouTube channel started to soar, and now it's currently over 120,000 subscribers, and I've had an award from YouTube, and that makes me proud. It's a fact that recent research has shown that over 55% of people have a negative reaction to looking at pictures of others online, because they evoke feelings of jealousy, envy, low esteem, and all these other nasty things that these images and that can provoke, and comments even. We're accepted to keep up with the latest viral sensations and live shows, news reports. We're exposed to 24-hour news reports of disasters and death. And this exposure heightens our anxiety. So just remember that with our phones, on our iPads, and our computers, they've all got a power off button. You can turn off your devices. You can take a break. Take some time out. Slow things down. Stop tweeting. Stop checking. Stop posting. Stop liking. Stop commenting. And just take 24 hours to yourself and think, how did I manage before all this? Some of you out there listening to this were both born in a digital age, and other people like myself can remember the time before the digital age. And it's just nice to sit there sometimes and just listen to nothing. Just listen to the world going on around you. Give yourself a digital break. Give yourself an hour, 24 hours, or even half a day if 24 hours is too much. Turn off all your devices and instead put your attention on the people in your present, your friends, your family, your neighbours, your cat, your dog, all those people who will love you and surround you, and all will take time in real time in your life. I've seen so many people sitting in McDonald's and eating together, not having a conversation, just staring at their phones. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I could just go over there, take those phones off them and let them talk? Because we should always talk. We should always surround ourselves with people. I never go a day without sitting down over dinner and I switch everything off. I sit with my wife, sometimes my son, my grandchildren, whoever's there, and we say, what's happened to you today? What have you know? And we start talking, and before you know it, we've got a conversation going, and we're not looking on Facebook to see what the other one has done. So what I think we should do in the face of anxiety, with this epidemic that's hitting us all, is key. We need to learn to handle our lives, our reactions to pressure. We need to accept the pressure that is given to us. If it's not going to go away, then you've got to accept it. In fact, it will probably increase as life gets faster and more demanding over the next decade. And thus, you need to find a new way of dealing with all this anxiety, all this new anxiety that keeps popping up. You need to keep yourself calm. You need to keep yourself sane. So my challenge to you today is to spend half a day or even a whole day not listening to news, not reading the paper or checking online data, and just give yourself a break Notice the sky, the colours in your street, your wildlife, flowers, turning out all that stuff that's making you tense and anxious, and see how it feels. Clear your mind of all that anxiety and stress. What I try to show on my channel is I paint away the stress of everyday life in Wales. That's exactly what I try to do, because I put all my time, all my effort, all my energy, all my focus into my painting. When I paint along with you fantastic subscribers out there, that's all I try to do, is live in that moment and not worry about what is going to happen. I'm not even concerned about the outcome of the painting, which is a really difficult thing to try and do as an artist, because if I'm doing a commission, that's all I think about is perfection. It's not about perfection. Think of it as a mosaic. Think about your life as a mosaic. Every millisecond, every minute, every day is a piece of mosaic in your life. You can't build your life in one go. You need all these little tiny bits of mosaic to make that mosaic, which is you. And if you've got any cracked bits of mosaic tiles, discard them. That's your stress, that's your anxiety. So anxiety is very infectious. So if there's people around you that are anxious, it's going to rub off, especially if you're already in a vulnerable place, which I was. So what I say is, take a moment, close your eyes, think of a person, a partner, a good friend, your favourite pet perhaps, I don't know. Do you get an warm feeling when you think of them? Or do you get a cold feeling when you think of them? Notice your reactions. If your reactions are cold and heavy, limit your contact, even if you care for them. Because if you're not feeling warm towards them, then they are infectious. There might be something going on in their lives that are subsequently affecting your emotions. So just give yourself a little bit of distance, even if you love them dearly. Just give yourself a little bit of distance. Sometimes I'm in a stress environment. I've got my grandchildren staying here today, and I could feel my stress levels rising. So I've done what I've had to do. I've spent some time with them, and now I'm sitting in the studio, just contemplating. And I thought, I know, I shall talk about my feelings, and this is how I've come to record this today. And I'm doing a wonderful painting, and that's what I do. I think it's a great thing to be able to limit yourself, your good contact with some people. You must learn how others affect you. You must. And to protect yourself. If you feel like you've had enough of someone, then you probably have. I've had enough of a lot of people, and I just think, oh, I just can't be bothered to talk to them today, and I don't. So do you really want to conquer your anxiety, even if it involves changing your habits, changing your way of thinking, behaving, responding, losing weight, or even changing your friends, or even changing your contacts on your phone, or even deleting some friends on Facebook that you don't really want to have contact with? Is that what you want to do? Have you got the strength to be able to do that? Not a lot of people have, but if you need to conquer your anxiety, you really do need to do it. You really do need to take control of your life. And it's taken me a few years to take full control of my life, and that's exactly what I've been doing. So I've got my studio. It's quite nice and quiet, and it's where I can sit, and it's where I can be comfortable. It's where I can be on my own for 5-10 minutes, hour, 2 hours. And what I tend to do is I just close my eyes. I just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. There's no music playing, there's no insects burning. All I'm listening to is the sounds around me. I try to locate where the tension lies in my body. Is it in my belly? Is it in my back? Is it in my neck? Is it in my jaw? Where is it? So just notice that. Breathe deeply in and out for about, I'd say, 5 times. Try and breathe in to that place where it's feeling tense. So you've got a tense shoulder. Breathe in and focus your breath into that tense area, which is maybe your shoulder. And imagine that stress, that tension just melting away like soft butter or marshmallows in the heat of a saucepan. Then open your eyes, stretch like a cat, and go on with your day. You could do this in the car, you can do this in the bathroom, you could sit on the toilet and do this. Just take that moment, that special moment that's yours. Sod the world. Don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about the problems with your family and things like that. Just take that moment to yourself and just concentrate. Breathe away that anxiety and that stress. And right, I'm ready. I'm ready to go on. I'm ready to move on. So I'm going to touch on triggers once a year, I think, before we carry on, because I love talking about these type of things because it's my experience. This is how I'm dealing with it, and if I can help you a little bit, then I've done my job. So everyone, including yourself, are going to have some sort of triggers that set off your anxiety. I can't tell you what mine are because they're individual. So what I would say is, think of these little triggers as warning signals. Once they are pressed, they can lead to stress. Once they are pressed, they can lead to stress. It's like somebody bumping into your car and your car alarm going off. Woo, 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 woo. It's a warning sign. Sometimes it come across to me that I would imagine things are a lot scarier and more dangerous than they really are. Sometimes you can overreact. So this is all due, I think, mainly to do with our past experiences and, how we got triggered unnecessarily, I think. Something might have happened in our past that have triggered something, and we've just gone, oh no, and you find out it leads to nothing. So these little residual things are left in our brains, and it's important that we can try and control them. Also, I would say, try to find and notice the places where you seem to get more anxious than others. Is it walking along the street? Is it that car that's zipping past you on the bypass or the road? Is it because you're walking down the park on your own and it's getting twilight? Is it sitting in traffic? Are people annoying you by beeping their horn? Or simply, is it just because you're alone in the house? These are all triggers. Things are often, I think, more benign than we realise, because we get upset because we let our fear take over from our common sense. Common sense. We forget about our common sense. So don't let things blow up out of all proportion. That's what I think anyway. When you feel anxious, ask yourself one thing. Am I truly in danger? Or do I just think I am? Am I truly upset? Or do I just think I am? Does this thing really going to hurt me? Or do I just think it is? So take a moment, think about your own triggers. What sets off your anxiety? Do you notice any regular patterns towards your anxiety? And do you notice your warning symptoms? Yes, I stutter and stammer sometimes, and I get all uptight because I'm afraid to say the wrong thing when I'm talking. That's public speaking for you. I've done years and years of public speaking, and the first time I got up, I was so stressed and anxious over that. But I soon got over that, and it's helped me towards my YouTube. and when I talk on YouTube, I talk from the heart. A lot of people talk to scripts. I tend to talk from the heart because I find it's easier to do that, as I'm doing now, in fact. I'll touch on triggers, I think, on another video, but I just want to leave you with a quote that I've read a while ago, and it states that the greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind. Mindfulness is the key. William James said that the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. What I find is that most people with anxiety, people I've talked to, family members, friends, anxiety is a bigger thing than we all first think. We think it is just us. And we think it's just our problems and our fears and things. But what I find is, do you fear what would happen if you give up worrying? It's just a question. Sometimes I talk to family members and friends and people in general about their anxiety and fears. And it's like they say it's like talking to their best friend. Something they're loath to let go of. Then it's like that type of feeling towards you, or they'll say, "I'm just made that way." Brings me on to anxiety itself. I've mentioned change. I mentioned fear of change. I mentioned paradoxes. I've mentioned that anxiety could be your best friend. And so, what is anxiety for? Why do we get anxious? Well, we are hot-wired, really. We're hardwired. It's complex neurons in the brain that react to danger. It's a primeval instinct that we all have. When we're under threat, our nervous system just leaps into action, like as if we're being chased by a bull or a tiger or something. Our adrenaline shoots in, our nervous system shoots up, our neurons in our brain fires, our muscles get tense and ready for action. So our heart works faster. We start palpitating. we start palpitating in order to get oxygen into our blood. Our kidneys secrete adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream so that our muscles can work faster and our limbs can work harder for longer. Before we have the chance to think, we react in one of three ways. We fight, we flight, or we freeze. These are all primeval instincts and things that we've got no control over. Our reactions might make us feel stronger and more able to fight or run away, but we might hold our breath and freeze. In that case, our minds are racing, pumped, our adrenaline is pumped up, and our cortisol levels are up. But we are so over-pumped and shocked that sometimes we slow down or even stand still. And then we are tense. Every muscle to stay motionless. So what I'm saying is that's some of my reactions, but what about your reactions? What about your experiences? Have you ever felt threatened or ever been in danger? How did your body feel then, and how did it react? How did your mind react? What did you do to accomplish that? What did you do to overcome that? What did you do to proceed with that? And how did you feel after that incident? After that episode? How did you feel after that episode? Marcel Proust said, "We are healed from suffering only by experiencing it to the the full. So after our anxiety episodes, after experiencing fight, flight or freeze response, due to that perceived threat or danger or whatever has got us going, there's usually a come down when the body has to process all those reactions to danger, and when the brain deals with it, and what's just happened. In fact, there can only be an overload of chemicals in the blood. So that means that the body has to readjust to get back to normal. So this can lead to anxiety aftermath. Now this can manifest itself in a number of ways, such as feeling jittery, sweaty, unable to sleep, or even very sleepy. You're unable to eat, or you're very hungry. You can be irritable, you can be withdrawn. It might come on immediately after your anxiety episode, or hours or days or even longer afterwards. And I think people that with anxiety have suffered with all these type of things. Just because you have an anxiety episode, it doesn't mean you're going to have an aftermath immediately afterwards. As I said, it could be weeks or days or even weeks. Your emotional response depends on how long that threat has lasted, whether it was a very brief, like being threatened on the street, or sustained, like being in an abusive relationship, and whether it was avoided or it was actually experienced. You need to remember that what goes up must come down. Even in the midst of feeling fear and its aftermath, you will feel fine again later. I've had anxiety episodes that have lasted hours, like a panic attack, minutes. I've had anxiety episodes that have lasted a month or even longer. It is sometimes this vicious circle goes on and on. You can come down and you immediately start back up again into another episode, and it depends how long these episodes are and what those triggers are that I mentioned earlier. You need to find what triggers these anxiety attacks for you personally, and try to meet them head on and try and stop these threats then, if you would, to start you off. One way I remind myself of this is in the midst of feeling jittery, is to close my eyes briefly and think of a good object, like a painting, a flower, my dog Molly, your child. You can be sitting on a seashore, you can be sitting under a tree, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face. You can breathe in and imagine. So if you're in that happy place, all will be well. Just breathe, relax, and just live in that moment. And then as you do that, the chemicals will readjust into your body and your brain, and then you'll start to calm down, you'll start to soothe, and you'll start to come around and be back to normal. So I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder a few years ago, and I believe that the research that I've done is generalized. It's a generalized anxiety disorder, basically. That's the medical term for the condition that myself and a lot of people suffer with, and that causes me to feel anxious about a wide range of situations and issues rather than one specific thing, one trauma or one specific event. Now, how anxious I get is based on three things. Firstly, and this goes for everybody, is that it's in your genes, it's in your DNA, that's your nature. You come from a family which is more reactive to stimulation than other people. not all human beings are the same. My mother had severe anxiety and stuff, and she said it used to be that I suffer with my nerves, So that's basically what anxiety was back in the day. That you're just a nervous individual person, and basically it's anxiety. So it can be hereditary. Secondary anxiety can be learned. So if your parents or relatives were highly sensitive to certain things, it's possible that this will impact on you, or even your children. You might feel threatened in similar circumstances, and these anxiety patterns can be handed down from generation to generation. They could be handed down from your mum and dad to yourself, and from yourself to your children. Thirdly, your reactions are influenced by cultural environment differences. If you grew up in a war, like my mum did, with economic difficulties, or in an oppressed community, or have lived through a disaster or a traumatic situation or something like that, this will influence your reactions. Being in a crowd can start anxiety or even lead to panic. I get a little bit panicky in a lift. I get panicky in a superstore over Christmas periods when there's too many people around me. I just need to walk through the door and get some fresh air. Generalized anxiety disorder really means that your anxiety button is switched on all the time, and then it can lead to obsessive thinking and excessive actions. I'm obsessed with painting and things like this because I've got this generalized anxiety disorder. That means I paint a lot to relax, so it makes me a little bit obsessed. It could also lead to extreme thoughts and unnecessary avoidance of perceived dangers. I'm not going to cross the road, there might be a car coming. However, even if you feel anxious about a lot of things, a lot of the time you can still do something about lowering your anxiety for yourself. So I'd like to touch very quickly on medication. I'm on a few different meds. Some knock me out, and some just make me feel happy. But I am coming off them slowly, which is good. So if you feel your anxiety is overwhelming, or you are chronically anxious, and you can go to your doctor to get medication or talk to a therapist about taking some medication to help you with your anxiety. I find that painting and talking to my subscribers on YouTube and doing things like this relieves my anxiety disorder, because it gives me a chance to think as I'm talking from my heart and helping others. It also reduces my anxiety levels. So it's important to deal with these symptoms as they become too distressing. Sometimes there's no need for them to be elevated at all. But you've got to work out the change in your life, or the situation you were going through, like maybe a divorce or addiction, recovery, say a loss of a job or redundancy that puts you under pressure for a long time. However, there's an increasing amount of evidence recognized by the health service that there are other non-medical ways of dealing with physical or even psychological symptoms of anxiety, and these methods include like mindfulness, meditation, CBT and alternative health therapies, talking to therapists. Your doctor should discuss these with you, and you can always look for a referral for yourself. Sometimes I've had some severe panic attacks, and anxiety can strike you when you least expect it, and panic attacks can be triggered either by something in your mind, such as a memory or perception, or sometimes in your environment, like feeling under threat or being in real danger. Or sometimes you perceive it before you consciously notice it at all. It could be a smell or a sound. You might start panicking before you were consciously aware of understanding what the trigger was. It's just not easy. Typical symptoms of a panic attack include, but are not limited to, panting and feeling that you're not able to breathe. You could have a numbness in the face, hand and limbs. You could have tingling in the hands or feet. You could have a feeling of unreality. You could be feeling sick or even actually having a vomiting in a bucket. You need to get out of the place very quickly, like I said, when I'm in stores, to escape an overwhelming sense of dread or overpowering fear, sweating, either hot or cold or both. You could have clammy hands and skin, a dry mouth, needing to go to the toilet, or actually doing so. You could have a feeling of being unable to think. You could have a blankness, a memory loss. Panic attacks can come in waves. Now, if you experience one attack, you may experience several in close proximity, and this in itself can be very distressing. Indeed, I think that much of you can have an anxiety about your anxiety. You can panic about panicking. I've done that in several times. The only way to deal with a panic attack is to learn to nip it in the bud. You need to recognize your triggers, as I mentioned earlier, and avoid or handle them with efficiency. So what I would say with conquering panic attacks is, so if you've never had a panic attack before, it can take you by surprise. And in fact, I've had hundreds or so. I don't know. I've lost count, in fact, and they can still feel very terrifying at sometimes. And so what I try to do is, number one, I understand what my panic attacks, my triggers. Sometimes the triggers that come along and I don't realize they've triggered me into a panic attack. But you're a quick learner with anxiety. You need to understand your symptoms, is what I'm trying to say. You need to understand your symptoms of an attack. The more you understand that particular trigger, the better you're going to be prepared. So that's number one. Number two, always understand that you are going to be safe with a panic attack. Even though you're feeling panicky and you're in a relatively safe place, there is no need to be frightened. You won't die even if you feel terrible. Number three, is very important, is breathe. Concentrate on your breathing. Blow out slowly. Take a breath in, blow out again. Count to 10. Do this several times. Breathe in deeper each time, but try not to hyperventilate. That's important. Slow your breathing, and then breathe shallower and more shallower. And if you start feeling dizzy or lightheaded, then just stop. Just to concentrate and control your breathing. Right, if you're feeling insecure and you're feeling scared and you're feeling as if you're not safe, stamp your feet on the ground. Stamp your feet on the ground. Just feel how solid that floor is. Feel how safe you are. Number 5 could be you could be holding something, like an arm of a chair or a banister. Even hold your own hand. Lean against the wall. So if you're feeling insecure and you're feeling vulnerable, put your back up against the wall, put your feet on the ground, stamp your feet, breathe deeply. Might look stupid to people, but don't worry about what other people think. Just not worry, but just concentrate on relieving that panic attack. And tell yourself, this is number 6, I can do this, I can get through this. This is going to pass, and I can get on with my day. That's conquering panic attacks. The other thing I would like to say is that you can count slowly from 1 to 10. You can tap the side of your temple. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could slow down your walking and stop driving, or leave the room, walk out to the shop, get off the bus, go and sit in a toilet on the train. or open a window, breathe some air. Don't rush, but just get yourself somewhere that you're in your own space and you feel safe. And if these feelings continue, try singing, especially in the private space like a car, you're at home, or you're in the toilet. Yeah, just la 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 la, or sing something like that. You know, sing a nursery rhyme. The grand old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill, and he marched them down again. And when they were up, they were up, and when they were down, they were down. But when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. Sing loud, sing softly, sing cheerful, just to cut that panic, that pattern of panic. Take a walk even. Just to the other end of your office or your room, or down the bottom of the garden, or just walk up the stairs and walk back down. Continue breathing, stretch your fingers, your toes, breathe deeply, concentrate. And just concentrate on getting through, getting that lovely feeling, relieving that feeling of dread and threatening behaviour. I want to touch on rituals. We all got little rituals, haven't we? You know, some of us are a bit more excessive than others, and switch on the light 25 times and switch it off 25 times. But in order for us to slow down our days, we need to build in a space for ourselves to ward off the possibility of getting stressed or sliding down into an anxiety spiral. What you need to do is identify the times in your day when you feel a little bit stressed, so you know when to expect your anxiety to maybe arrive. So what do you got to focus on? Are you most anxious maybe in the early morning during the rush to work? When you're home by yourself or alone with your thoughts? When you're with a child all day or trying to keep them happy? Maybe during lunchtime when there's nowhere to eat but to sit at your desk and eat? Commuting in the morning on the way there or on the way back with public transport, or are you stuck in a traffic jam, or does that seem worse than ever? Maybe during, say, a transition time between work and coming home, when you need space. Are you instantly drawn into a domestic chores and family demands as soon as you walk through the door? Have you got to cook a tea? Have you got to sort the kids out? Have you got to take the dog for a walk? And these little things can set you off. Even in the evening when you want to unwind but have to continue working on your laptop, or you could answer those emails. You may be with someone and you don't feel that you can connect with them. We've all been there. And the other thing is, when we get mail through the door, or we get anxious, is it a bill? Is it a bank statement? Are we overdrawn? At night, when you wake up at, say, 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and your pulse is racing. These are your personal anxiety patterns, and they'll have their own shape. They'll have their own natures. They'll have their own remedies. But once you identify your triggers, you can work out what you need to do to change them. What you could do to help yourself during the most anxious time is, let's say for argument's sake, when you wake up, do you peek out from under your blanket or your duvet and think, oh no, I can't face this today, or wake up with a knot in your stomach or a headache? What do what do you think about in those waking moments? Can you catch negative thoughts, or as they fly through your mind, or you try writing them down? If you prefer to keep a video or diary, then that's a good idea also. Combat anxiety, you may want to set your alarm 15 or 13 minutes early to give yourself more time to wake up. Anxiety often stems from trying to do too much in too little time, or not being organized enough. Spending time treating yourself well and getting ready for your mindful state can help you start the day, and this will help you feel focused and calm. Take a deep breath, or several, before getting out of bed. I always awake and I lie there for 5 minutes, and I think to myself, no matter what the day brings today, I'm going to deal with it head on. And if I can't do anything about it today, then I'll worry about it tomorrow. Or I'll leave it till tomorrow. I shouldn't say worry. And I just have a little think about, what am I going to do today, the steps that I'm going to take, and I just go through them peacefully in my mind, and then I get out of bed and rub my feet on the floor, stamp my feet on the floor, and say, right, I'm grounded for the day now. So, or you could just stay under your blankets or duvet and set the timer for another 5 minutes. Lie on your back and close your eyes. Notice where the tension or aches in your body are. Now go to that place in your body and allow yourself to feel what's happening there. Is it a knot in your shoulder, or have you got a stiff back, or you've got that pain in your groin? Exaggerate the feeling and allow your mind to focus on it, and then relax. Tense up again and really feel that feeling, and then relax. Imagine a huge butterfly net coming down and sweeping over your head and all the way down your body, and all the tense and difficult feelings are swept up in the net and taken away to a place they can do you no harm. Tell yourself, I can do this. I can face this day. Take a deep breath in, breathe out fully, and do that again at least twice. Open your eyes and calmly pull back the duvet and say, right, I'm going to get on with my day. I am now prepared. Get yourself downstairs, and if you're going out to work, like I do most mornings, it's easy to leave a house in the morning in a rush, and it's also easy to skip breakfast. And as you got up too late, or you feel that you haven't got time, and we don't eat, try not to leave the house hungry, as you will pick up sugary snacks and all this type of stuff on the way, and you'll end up too hungry to concentrate. You won't be able to work safely, and you won't be able to drive properly. So if you want to lower anxiety, it's absolutely essential to have something nutritional for breakfast. It's also important for you to take time to prepare it. I like a nice bowl of porridge in the morning. I do. I love bowl of porridge with raspberries. That seems to fire me up. Some mornings I have some beans on toast and a poached egg. But always get up an extra 10 minutes early and give yourself some time to prepare these meals. Some people soak oats for a nice healthy breakfast the night before, or even make a sandwich for the next day. I make my sandwiches every evening for work, so I don't have to rush around in the morning and do that. Need at least have some sort of cereal, bread or fruit or eggs, milk, porridge, yogurt, or whatever you like. So have something nourishing, that's what I'm saying. Have some nourishing food to start the day with. And if you have a hangover, then breakfast basically rehydrates you and is extremely important for helping your body to recover a lot faster from that. And it enables you to start the day more focused, which is what we all want. So set a place for yourself and make your table look nice, or at least give it a wipe over with a cloth. You make toast, or you have a bowl of cereal and fruit. Eat it sitting at the table without any distractions like the radio or TV being switched on, or your iPad or your phone pinging. Don't read a newspaper, or, as I said, just put your phone on silent just for the breakfast period, and just take a moment in the morning. Take a moment to eat your food slowly and taste in the different flavours and savour in the mix of the marmalade and the coffee and the strawberries and the cereal and the porridge oats. So you may only sit for about 10 or 15 minutes, but by eating slowly and mindfully, you will set yourself up for a really good day. Eating on a run is really bad for you, and your digestion is going to suffer as well. Even your mental state will suffer, and slow release of foods such as whole meat toast or porridge or whole meat cereal with fruit and nuts can help you stay calm and energized during the day. And if you're with your partner or you have children, encourage them to eat breakfast calmly at the table. I know that's a little bit of a difficult task, especially with youngsters, but if you get into this this way of eating breakfast, then they'll soon come around. Remember, people are waking up as well, and they'll be grumpy or stressed or anxious about the day themselves. So avoid arguments over the breakfast table. That's the worst thing you can do. They leave in a bad state. You leave in a bad state, and you know the taste of that bad start in the morning will interfere with your digestion and the rest of your day. So if possible, clear the table before you leave. Put everything in the dishwasher, or just put them in the sink, and at least stack the plates in the sink, because coming back to a mess at the end of the day will only increase your anxiety levels. Just use these little tips along the way, and I'm sure all these little things are going to help you either manage your anxiety state or at least recover from it. I hope all these words of advice and little tips that I'm giving you are going to help you along your journey of anxiety, manageability and recovery even. And I just want to say thank you very much for joining me here in the studio and just listening to this old Welshman waffle. So I want to touch a little bit on mindful homecoming. So you've got up, you've stretched your legs, and you've come to terms with the day, and you've had your hearty breakfast, and you managed to get through that traffic or that commute on the train, and you've avoided all these people and all these anxiety attacks and panic attacks along the way, and now you're on your way home and you're knocking on that door. And many of us arrive home frazzled, had enough. It's been a long day, it's been draining, especially if we've been trying to manage and cope with our anxiety as well. And it's been a long day, and we've picked up tired children from the school or our parents or our grandparents, and we might come home to an empty place. Even we might be living on our own, or even a shared environment, perhaps your house sharing or something. And coming home presents it's a tricky time of transition. It's important that we give ourselves a little bit of time to arrive home and change into something more comfortable. If you're going out to another activity like a gym or something like that, give yourself at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Give yourself some turnaround time so you could start off that part of your day stressless. Even if you're coming home to duties like family time, or you may need 5 minutes to adjust, or a transition from work life to home life is important. Work on those things. You could live with a partner or a spouse. You could need to negotiate with them their requirements. You need to negotiate with them a moment of transition for the two of you. You need to understand the difference between home life and work life. Home's anxieties and work anxieties. It's often the time when most arguments start, is when we arrive home. Those children are tired, and the parent has stayed at home looking after the children, even if they're newlyborns, is worn out, and or even the work parent is exhausted even. They all carry with it their own little quirks and problems, and the word trigger comes to mind. So let's just negotiate up front, and how you come home with your partner and family. Take it in turns. Take 5 minutes to get changed and calm. When you meet up at the end of the day, take 5 minutes to be alone before you engage with the household. Try not to go straight into the fridge and drink. Done that a few times. Try establishing a homecoming ritual that suits you, that suits your partner, that suits your household. So you can be present. Set up what you need with your partner and family. Communication is the key. Your needs, your wishes, their needs, their wishes is all part of establishing a calm, happy home life. Say hello to whoever's there. Say hello to your little dog. Hello, Molly. Hello, Boo, your cat. Hello, Fred, your little boy. Hello, Jane, my darling wife. Establish that connection. And then look after yourself, just for a mindful change over time. Change your clothes, go and have a shower, change, have a nice cool glass of water out of the fridge. Don't drink any caffeine or alcohol. Don't turn on the TV, the radio or the computer, and switch your phone on silent, like we did in the beginning of our day. Let's have that quiet, calm 10 minutes. Put yourself on a timer for 10 minutes. Go and lie on your bed. Sit in a comfy chair and breathe in deeply. Hiss out that breath and then breathe in again and breathe out. Close your eyes and notice how you feel. How do your legs feel? How do your feet feel? Tune in with your arms in your belly and your chest and your head and your face. Keep breathing and bringing your mind to just behind your forehead, and keep doing that for 5 or 10 minutes. Just continue to feel your body while lying down or sitting in a chair, and notice how heavy it feels. Are there any twinges or aches? Breathe in again. And blow out that breath. And come back when the timer goes off. Take a few seconds to pause before going down to do your evening business. Try also taking some time to exercise, even if it's just mowing the lawn, walking the dog, walking to the shop to get some milk, throwing your vacuum over, or you could do something like join a choir or theatre group, or go and do some painting. Anything rather than just sitting in front of the TV. All that does is just give you overload, sensory overload. Your evening schedule shouldn't revolve around multimedia, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, YouTube. Just take that time. Try going out every night, doing some activities, or join an art group, or make a point of taking the dog for a walk. If you haven't got a dog, just have a walk around the block. Always give yourself some space in between these activities. And have a little think, be a little bit mindful. So it's bedtime again. So if you need to work in the evening, make sure you have some wind down time before bed. Try avoiding feeling tense. Don't watch any TV or your iPad, or switch your phone off at least 20 minutes before you go to bed, otherwise your mind is just going to race. Limit the caffeine intake, limit any alcohol intake if you can. Work on nights like they are the most important part of your day. And just lay there and feel, just let that sleepiness come over you. You can try a herbal tea before bed, or have a warm milky drink if you want to. And as I said, avoid those LED displays, lights in the bedroom and things like that, which will interfere with your sleep patterns. It's a good idea to have a warm bubble bath or a nice warm shower before bed. Try to avoid an alcoholic nightcap. We've all been there. And all of these things can interfere with sleep, make it harder for you to get enough rest. We need at least 8 hours sleep per night. And this can then lead to an increase in anxiety the next day otherwise. Like I said, maybe a stroll in the evening, take the dog for a walk, or stretching or yoga can help you relax too. And many people find that, having a little cuddle with their loved ones can help them sleep. And if you have young children, make sure to work out which parent is going to tend to them during the night or their needs. Take it in turns. If you have noisy neighbours, buy some earplugs. I do. So you can block out that noise. So this is going to help your anxiety. Block out all that noise. Make sure your bed is in a nice, comfortable position. Make sure you've fluffed up your sheets and just really lay there. And don't dwell on the day. Don't dwell on tomorrow. Just put yourself in a nice, happy place. As I do, I think about my studio and I sit there, as I've been doing throughout this lesson, and I just visualize myself painting a painting. And that's what sends me off to sleep. Nice, calm place where I find relaxed, where there is no anxiety and no stress, just painting away the stress of everyday life in Wales.